Hi everyone, Jen here for Jen DeBell Designs and Country Craft Creations. And today I discovered when I went to do my finish up the editing of my video for this fun little travel memory album that I did using Echo Park's Into the Wild, I discovered that some of my videos were not complete. I'm not quite sure what happened. I also discovered when I did all my decorating, a couple flaws as far as sizing. So this is just a great opportunity for me to just start a process over again with you. I'm going to do it in another paper because I really like this album anyways. But I'm going to walk you through step by step of how to create this, the inner parts of this album. So all of the pages and such. And I will go over them one by one with you as far as how I did it. And usually I make a prototype. And this is, of course, one of those times that I didn't. And because of that, I mean, this would still work with the 1.5 inch spine. However, I feel like it's just a little chunky. And once I put my pictures or anything else in there, I just wanted to really have a little bit more room. So I'm going to go ahead. I'll have a walkthrough of this one that will be separated so you can see how I decorated and matted using the Echo Park paper. But I'm going to go ahead and use some white basic cardstock and show you this step by step. I already have all the pieces cut out. The main difference that I'm going to do here is rather than a 1.5 inch spine, I'm going to up that to 2.5. And then we will have 1/2 inch spaces in between our pages rather than the 1/4. So what we'll need for the page system for starters, this is a stacked page system. There's no spine piece that will go on, and this is not the hinge type of system. So what I have here is a 5 by 12, a 5 by 12. Oh, sorry. 12 by 7. I don't know why I wrote 5 by 12 on that. See, I'm already messing up. This is a 12 by 7. And then we have an 11 by 7. And then we will have a 5.5 by 7. Okay? So let's get this part together. What you want to do is place first the 12 by 7 in your scoreboard, score it at 5, turn it all the way around, and score it at 5 again. And this is going to be done just like you would a stacked waterfall, only these are pages. Do the same thing with your 11 by 7. Put it in your scoreboard with the 11 here, score at 5, turn, and score at 5. Okay? And on that last one, the 5.5 by 7, we will have, I'm going to flip this around to show you how I did this. So just in case my cutter did not get exactly 5.5, which it looks like it did, I want this butted up against here, and I'm going to score this at 5. Okay? And just that's just to make sure there's no discrepancies on my cutting part. So let's go ahead and assemble this. I'm going to grab some glue. And the first thing I want to do is grab that 11 by 7 piece, okay? And I'm going to put this in my scoreboard sideways, making sure that I get this all in camera view. And then I just want to fold and burnish that 1/2 inch line on the 5.5 by 7. Making sure that everything looks neat and tidy. And this piece will go in here at the 5.5 mark, okay? So I'm first going to put this in here and just make sure. Yes, it's 5. Okay. I always dry fit everything because, you know, you just never know when our papers or our cutters or our scoreboards are a little different. So go ahead and run glue just on that 1/2 inch flap there. And we are going to put this right at that 5.5 mark on the scoreboard. Line that up nice and neat. And burnish that down. Open it up and burnish it on the inside as well. Okay? Then what you want to do, once you get that burnished, is go ahead and fold over the first 5-inch section. Line that up nice and neat on the scoreboard. I just want to make sure everything is straight. All right, so now you'll have that. Grab your 12x7, bring that in. We are going to add glue to this 1-inch space back here where our score lines are. And just bring that folded piece up to that 5.5 mark again. As straight as you can possibly get it. We don't want any offsets because this is our pages. We want everything to turn nicely and work nicely. So I'm going to fold this back open all the way to that end one and fold it over, making sure that I get that nice straight look. Go ahead and fold in this side. And you will see that what you have, oh, we need to fold this one over too, I forgot. I'm going to flip it over this way and fold this one. That was our front page, and we just want to make sure that that one lines up. Okay, so this is what you will have. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, which gives you 10 in your book, okay? And we just want to make sure, once again, that everything is cohesive and lining up, and then we have our 1/2-inch spaces, okay? So that is the booklet portion. Now what we're going to do is start creating our pieces. So in the original book, like I said, I didn't like the amount, I didn't have enough play. So I wanted to up it to 1/2-inch spaces. So this one had 1/4-inch spaces. So your pieces, if you like that look and you like that squished look, you can do it that way and just make these smaller. But like I said, I really wish I would have done a prototype. So this first page is fairly simple. We're going to flip it over so that we're on the front portion of it. This is what you will have. This is 1A, and this is super simple. 1A is simply a belly band and a cover piece over the belly band. So the belly band itself, you will have a 1 3/4 by 8-inch piece of paper. We're going to go in at 1/2, put it in there at that 8. You're going to go to 1/2, and then we want to go to 7.5. And that's going to give you the 7 inches that you need. And I like to miter the edges just ever so slightly so I get like a tab almost on there. Like so. Okay? And just fold and burnish those. Now, I would decorate the paper. The decorative paper would go down first before I adhere these. However, I am going to show you, we have 5 inches here, so 2.5 is going to be our center. I'm going to pull this over. I'm just going to line this up with 4. And I know that 6.5 will be my center. So I want to just kind of try to eyeball this as good as I can without the same space on both sides. And I'm going to use some, if I can find it, this is temporary tape, just so I can show you how this goes on. So you would decorate the bottom portion, this page, and then adhere this. And it helps if I have it right side up. Okay, so that would be that portion. Now again, I'm going to try to center this as well as I can. I want it as close to the middle of that page as I can get it. So that would be your belly band. And then this piece is the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 that you will mat with 3 1/8 by 4 1/8 of a color. And then your 3 by 4 cut apart goes on top, just like I did in my original here. So this, you just want to put it on your page right about center. And what I like to do is just make the tiniest of marks. I'll use my ruler here to make sure. Let me get this all lined up. I want to have this as centered as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but close is good, right? We definitely don't want it on here crookedly though, so I like to hold it down and then just look and make sure that I'm getting it. And then I'm just going to make a small little mark with a pencil. Remember, this is going to get covered with decorative paper. And then you would put this on. So this will go right in here once I add my decorative paper. Just like so. So that would be the page 1A. So for the next page, this is going to have a pull-out. So as you can see in my original, this has this portion and then it pulls out like so. And you can do it both ways. All right. So I'm going to grab the pieces for that, set the booklet aside. For this, you're going to have a 9 by 7, a 5 by 4, and a 5 by 2 1/2. So for the 9 by 7, you first want to score this at 8 1/2. That is just going to tell you where your mark is for the page going in, because this is going to attach to that last page. And then we need, I need to measure, sorry, I didn't write this down and I probably should have done that. So we had our 1/2 inch and then we have a 4 inch. So then you're going to go 4 here. And that's going to leave you with 1, 2, 3, 4 1/2. So you have a 4, a 4 1/2, and then your 1/2 inch. This does not need to be mitered because it does go all the way up and down the page. But I do want to make sure that it's going straight. So this is what you will have. We want to have, let me just make sure I'm doing everything right here. I did that backwards. I'm going to fold this way and this one this way. And everything up. This is not Artisan cardstock I'm using to do this tutorial. So it doesn't fold and do all the fun, nice things that Artisan is known for. All right, so this is what you have. You have a 1/2 inch flap, and then you have your 2, 4 1/2, and 5. Okay? This is going to simply adhere right to the back side where we just did the belly band. And I can actually glue this one in because I am not, I can add paper still. When it goes up and down the page all the way, the flap, then I'm able to do that. So, just going to line this up in my scoreboard. This is our side 1B. And I am going to set that down and line it up and just double check and just make sure that everything is good and straight. Burnish on both sides. Get that glue really burnished. And then just go inside and burnish. And there you have it. This will be our other side. Now, this has some pockets on top, as well as, I do believe that I put a magnet. I did put a magnet in here. So for this, you will have, where's the other magnet? Trying to find it somewhere. There's another magnet. Okay, so you will have a magnet on the back side of this before you add your paper. And then we will have a magnet that matches underneath. Like so, okay? And I'm not going to add magnets to this just yet. I could, but I need to put paper and stuff on. So this is going to give me a lot more play with my book, having that 1/2 inch there. So let's add the pockets to the front of this. So the first one you have is 5 by 4. We're going to score that at 1/2 inch. Go into 1/2 inch here, and then turn and score it at 1/2 inch. And then you just want to trim those corners, and I like to miter the top ones as well. So this is my first pocket, and you can use a punch of whatever choice. I use an envelope punch board for mine. That doesn't always work because people don't always have those. So you can use a circle punch, or if you have one that's made, there's a great notch punch. I think it's made by Dress My Craft. I'll link it below. It's available in the Country Craft Creations store. So the second part is a 5 by 2.5, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to score at 1/2, go in at 1/2, and then we're going to score, I'm doing 2, but that's 1/2 on here. And we are going to miter this, and we're going to miter some more once we get, oh, I didn't need to do that bottom one, I apologize. So you don't need that bottom, just the 2 sides, okay? Because essentially this is going to slide in here. And so what I need is 1 inch on the tab. So the 1/2 inch tabs we made, make those 1 inch from the top. So this is what you'll have, 1 inch and 1 inch. And then for that, we are just, is that what I did on the other one? There's a little more. Let's do 1.5 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches. I apologize once again. I'm losing it today. All right, 1.5 inches. And then what you want to do is just go in and miter that ever so slightly. And then we want to just miter the bottom as well. So basically you're going to go up to that and then miter it again. So this is what you will have, and this one will sit inside of this one, and you will glue down these flaps and the 2 that we made. And I actually just recently learned how to make these stacked pockets from one of the other designers' projects. It's not how I used to make them, and they were always so bulky. This is such a great way to do this. It takes a little practice, at least it did for me. But you just want to make sure that you have it like so. You can even glue this down if it makes you feel better, which is, I think, what I'm going to actually do is glue this down. So I'm going to go ahead and add glue to the bottom of this. That way I get a better look. I didn't do that the first time and I struggled, so I'm just going to slide that in there. It's a little crooked. I don't want crooked. Let's see, we got 2.5 on that side, or excuse me, 1.5 and 1.5. All right. So now, oh no, you don't want to glue that. What am I thinking? Oh my goodness, I have lost my mind today. I apologize. Do not glue that. Do not glue that. It needs to be straight. All right, so once you have those cut and mitered, I am going to go ahead because I think I can probably still, I'm going to use my fake tape, tape that doesn't stick, temporary tape, that's what it's called. And I am just going to put this pocket on. So this will go on your little flap. Gonna line that up and set it down. And then for this one, I just want, you'll use glue most likely. I'm using this temporary tape so I can show you. Just like so. And then we're gonna slide it in there. And these are so much easier than the way that I used to do them. I just recently learned how to make these. I believe it was Kim Rannells that did a tutorial with these stack pockets, and it was amazing. So that is what you will have there. And on the inside here, as you will see in the walkthrough of this album, when you open this up, I just took 2 strips of the paper that I had left over and made little tuck pockets with them. And that's what ended that one. So now we're going to move on to 2A. 2A has a flap with a pocket and a pocket underneath. So we'll start with that pocket underneath. And that is going to be a piece that is 6 inches by 3 inches. We're going to score this at the 6 on half, in at half, and then another half across the bottom. I'm going to miter all of my corners. And I will fold and burnish. Once I get this all set, give it a good burnish. This one I'm going to glue on, I believe, because I can still add paper. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Let's just do it this way. So I want to go in and dry fit because you always want to make sure that you're a little away. So if it hangs over just a bit, don't worry, because we have that 1/4 inch to work with. The pages are 5 by 7. The album is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. So you have a 1/4 of an inch of give each way. So I'm again using that temporary tape, and I am just going to bring this in. And if I go away from the score line just a little bit, it helps ensure that my page will turn. And if it hangs off this edge, it's okay. Otherwise, if that bothers you, you can cut just about a 1/16 or a 32nd of an inch from your 6 before you do your scoring, and it will eliminate that. So next we have a 4 by 7. Put that in your scoreboard at 7. Score that, I'm going to flip it around and do it this way, at 6 1/2. And this one is going in the middle of the page, so I'm going to miter those top corners and fold that and burnish. And then the pocket that goes on the front of this is 5 by 3 1/2. So you're going to score it half, in at a half, which is 4 1/2, and then a half across the bottom. Just your standard gusseted pocket. And if you don't want a gusseted pocket, you just want a tuck spot, best thing you can do for that, which also makes it's one less step, is to cut this paper to 4 by 10, and then you can fold up and just make that your pocket, that last 3 inches. So you would score it and then have that last 3 inches at the bottom, and you wouldn't need to make an additional pocket. I wanted mine gusseted so that I could stuff stuff in it, and that is why mine, I did not miter this enough. That is why mine is not a part of the one continuous piece of paper, because I really wanted to have the gussets. I mean, you can also add gussets just to the sides, and it'll give you a little bit more room. But to me, it gets a little wonky doing that, so I just have never really liked doing it that way. Again, I'm just using some removable adhesive so I can show you. Now this one I'm going to put in my scoreboard, and I am going to put this on upside down just to make sure that everything lines up. And it does, kind of, not really. What the heck? Let's try that again. There we go. So that would be your pocket, and you have your pocket below, and then you're going to add glue to that 1/2 inch tab at the top. And I'm just going to put my book in here. Helps me with the numbers up here to eyeball where this is going, because I want it in the middle as close as I can get, and that looks pretty darn close. I'm going to burnish that glue out, and you get that flap there. Again, I had a magnet, so there's a magnet that will go on this backside, and a magnet that will go on the pocket is where I put it before I decorated. Okay. So next, we are going to move on to 2B. And this is this fun one. 2B has a flap that goes down with a little belly band, a flap that goes up, and a pocket underneath. Also has a magnet. So for this one, the top flap is 5 by 6. You're going to put that in your scoreboard with the 6 across the top and score it 1/2. Or you can score it 5 1/2. Which is what I usually prefer to do, just to encase my cutter, because I can see that's a little over. So I'm going to do the 5 1/2. And I am going to leave it because it does go all the way across the top. I don't need to miter. So I'll burnish that out. Then you're going to have a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 piece and a 2 by 3. The 2 by 3, you'll score at 1/2 of an inch. This is going to go underneath the pocket here, like so. We'll put the pocket down on top of that, so we can go ahead and glue that. Just gonna burnish this out and add glue to, oops, I forgot to miter, sorry. This one I want to miter because it is in the middle of the page. So you'll have this. I'm going to add some glue to this little tab here. And I want to go as close to the middle as I can here. I'm just kind of eyeballing because, but it looks pretty close to me. Okay. So then you will have your top flap. We're going to go ahead and glue that on. So add glue to that 1/2 inch gusset, flap, gusset, whatever you want to call it. And I want to line this up. So I am going to bring in my book, and I'm going to put that right up against. Make sure that you do not go past your score line, that you're lining up right next to it, but you're not going over, because this needs to be able to turn. And if it goes over, it will not turn. If you find that you're a little bit over on this side, which I am with this one, you can trim this down just a bit with your scissors, or you can leave it if you don't mind it looking that way. So your 4x4 will then attach at about 1/2 of an inch down on this, and you will have magnets as well, okay? That will attach to this little piece. So then our underside pocket is a 3x6. Put it in at the 6, score it half. Go in from 6 to half, so you can see that was a little bigger, and it would not have fit if I hadn't done it that way. And then half across the bottom. Again, we're going to miter. And fold all of our score lines. And burnish. I'm going to set aside my 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 because this needs to go in first. And if it is going over a little bit, which it is, again, you can make it a little bit smaller by just cutting it when you cut your paper, taking just a little bit off. I usually just kind of roll with it, with what I got, but I have been also known to do it the other way and take some paper off. So I just want to go right up to that score line. I do not want to go over it. So burnish out that glue, and I probably shouldn't have glued that pocket down because I have to put paper up here, but that's okay. I'll figure it out later. What I'm not liking is that our flap here could have gone over just a bit to keep it from hanging over the edge, but it doesn't that much. It's fine. Okay. So again, you will have this, and this will get a little tighter because of the pocket. Just simply pull it up and use your bone folder to fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this so you can see. So you're just going to add glue to about 1/2 inch space up here at the top. And eyeball this once again. All the way across. And boom, that's what you'll have. So you have magnet and a magnet, okay? All right. Next page. That will be this page here, which is the same concept with one extra flap. Okay. So for that one, we have the same 2x3 and a smaller top. We're going to have a bottom flap and a right flap. So we're going to start with that bottom flap, which is 4 3/4 by 6. We want to go in and score this at 5 1/2. And it's 4 3/4, not 5. So we are going to go ahead and miter a little bit our flap. And I probably should have done this on the other side because now my writing's upside down, but that's okay. I knew what I was doing. Go ahead and add glue to that. 1/2 inch flap. I'm going to flip my book upside down. And then I am going to bring this in right at the edge, because I want, did I do it? No, I did it on the outside edge. Okay. So this one goes on your outside edge. So you want to line it up right with the edge of this paper here. All right. Gives you about 1/4 inch on the side, little looky-loo of whatever paper you put below. So that's what you'll have. Flip the book back around. And then we're going to take our 5 1/4 by 5. We're going to score that at 4 3/4. And again, I'm going to miter. And fold and burnish. Bring your book in right side up. And add glue to that little 1/2 inch flap. And we just want to bring this all the way up to the edge of our paper. And check and make sure, which it does, that it's lining up with that bottom. What I mean by that is that when these come together, this can still open and close. And if it doesn't, you need to rework it a little bit. Just like our little belly bands. That happens sometimes when the paper gets pushed over a little too far. It happens. So that is that portion. Then we are going to bring in another one of those little 2x3s. Put that in your scoreboard at 3 and score it at 1/2 inch. And go ahead and miter that to make a little tab. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish that really nicely. Add some glue to that tab. And simply put this up here. And I want to get this close to the middle as I possibly can. That looks pretty close. And then again, we're just going to add a little bit of glue. How did I? Oh, I have most of it. Okay. To this, about 1/2 inch of space in the glue. And that's where you're going to put your, I need this one closed actually so I can see what I'm doing. I'm comparing it. Yes, that's where I wanted it. Okay. So you just want to eyeball this. Get it as straight as you can. My first one, I don't think I got it very straight, to be honest with you, but there's that. And again, magnet on the underside of the 3x4, magnet on this bottom underneath. So you'll have a magnet there and a magnet here. Okay. And this can go either way. You can close this way or close it the other way. It's the same either way. The magnet will work for both. This next page, super duper simple. This is, let's see here, we got 1, 2, this is 3. I got 1A, 2A, okay, 3B. All 3B is mainly is a side pocket, a side vertical pocket. So you'll have a 3x8. We're going to score this at 1/2 inch. Go into 1/2 inch. And then we're going to put it on here and we're going to score it at 2.5. Okay. Go ahead and miter all the corners and the cross section below. And there you have it. And we can go in and burnish all of those scores. Yes, I will definitely be making a prototype first next time. I still, like I said, I still really like the smaller version. However, I just think that it works better with this version. So first what we're going to do is we are going to, I'm not going to glue this pocket on. I'm going to do the removable tape. My removable tape is not cooperating with me today at all. And this is going to go to the left side of the page all the way to the end. So you want to line it up top and bottom and all the way to that edge. And once you have it nice and lined up, I'm going to burnish it even though I'm using removable tape. Then you'll have that. So the next part is an add-on, which is another pocket that goes in the middle. So it basically gives you 12 pages in the end, but this is a little bit smaller. So what you will have is 2 pieces of paper to make this. You're first going to have a 5x8, and we're going to score that at 1/2 inch on your, did I do that right? Yes. Losing it. We're going to wait. My brain is not working. Okay, no, that's correct. So then you're going to go in and score at 1/2 inch and at 7.5. Okay, that's going to give you this little doohickey, and you just want to miter those bottom portions across the cross section. And I may have measured this second piece incorrectly, but I will let you know in just a second. Let's get this all burnished out, and I will tell you if I boo-booed. So this essentially would be the back side of the pocket. I did cut this incorrectly. Okay, so your second piece actually needs to be a 5x7. And I need to grab my white paper and cut one because that is incorrect. Let me just do a 5x7 really quick. There is 5. And I'm going to cut 5 off of 12 to give me another 5. All right. So rather than a 4.5x7, this is a 5x7. Going to go in and you're going to score this at 4.5. Okay. This is going to lay on top of here. So we're going to make this pocket. What you want to do is add glue to these 1/2 inch tabs that we made on the first piece. I'm going to put this in my scoreboard so I don't mess up. I want this piece with the piece we just scored, the 1/2 inch score line on this side. And I am going to put this in here and line it all up with this piece. And what we should get, which I did, it worked perfectly that time. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. What you get is a pocket page with a 1/2 inch gusset. Go ahead and fold that gusset. And we're going to just burnish with it folded so that we get a nice fold, okay? Then on your book, what you're going to do is bring that in, put some glue on that 1/2 inch, and line it up with this inside portion of, so it's on the opposite side of your pocket. I have it upside down. Let's not do that. So we want to put this right up against our paper, our page, making sure that when you turn it over, everything still moves. So you want to make sure that you can still move the book. So give me 1 second because I'm sure mine is okay. But what I mean by that is it has to be able to move. Don't want it to be in the way of anything that you do. So, not sure what's going on here. Why do I have, oh, because it's not all the way down. Once it's stuck down better, it will move better. As long as all of your pages move nice and crisp, then you are golden. It feels like mine might just be a teensy bit off, crooked wise. All right. So that is that add-on page. Okay. And I just decorated those as just with regular, and I added a little strip 1 inch by, or it might be 1.5. Let me check here. Yeah, I just did a 1, it's about 1 5/8, but I don't know why I did that. But anyways, I just took a piece of paper that was left over and made a little tuck spot there on that side, and then left this one open for pictures. So our next page will be what I consider, because I didn't count this as a page, this is going to be our 5A and 5B. Or excuse me, is that right? Why does this say 4? 4, I apologize. It's 4A and 4B. So 4A, 4B, 5A, 5B. Okay. 4A has a flap on the side, and there is a pocket on this side. So first thing we're going to do is make the pocket, which is 3 by 8. Put that in your scoreboard at 8. Score it half. In at half, which is 7.5. And then half. Okay. And I am going to cut and then miter the top just a bit. Fold all of those in. And this is going to go on the inside of a 5 by 7. So you have a 5 by 7. What you want to do is put it in there at 5 and score at 4.5. Okay. Now we're going to flip it over, and we are going to adhere this pocket to the inside. And I'm again going to use my removable tape for this, because I want to be able to decorate this album after. And I'm just going to line this up to the right on my edge of my page. And that will go like so. Then we will bring this in. And this is going to go on the page here. So fold over your 1/2 inch. Add glue. And I did not magnet this one. It's a small enough flap. And I didn't feel the need to do that. So I did not magnet this one. I am going to put this up here and simply add this. You want this to go all the way to the edge without going over. Mine is not all the way to the edge. You also want it to line up top and bottom, which mine also is not doing. Not sure what's happening here. I'm struggling. All right, so that will be that flap with the pocket, okay? All right, so 4B is another simple. They're all very, very simple to do. This one has a top flap. So we have a 4.5 by 7. We are simply going to put this on our scoreboard, and I can see where it's a little off. So I want to go right to 6.5. And again, this is not going to go all the way across the 5-inch page. So I'm going to go ahead and ever so slightly miter the top here. Okay, bring in your book, add glue to that top flap that we just made. And we want to kind of bring this, we have 4.5 on a 5-inch page. So I'm going to go right over to where I can see 1/4 of an inch. Just make sure everything is lining up. And then I can go in and burnish out my glue. Underneath, we have a pocket. So you have a 6 by 2 3/4. Now you can make these pockets as tall or as short as you want. I don't know why I did 2¼ but I went with it. So put this in at your 6, score it half, go into half, which is 5½, and then we're just going to score this at 2¼ again, you can make them any size you choose, as long as obviously you can still fit something in it when you put it on the page. And as always, I'm just mitering everything, all the corners. And then I can burnish everything out. And this book, I labeled it as a travel memory album because of the paper, Into the Wild, but you could totally do this with any paper. It's such a fairly quick and simple book that you could do this for any occasion. It would be a fun little baby book. It's just fun. So you technically have 12 pages. So the first 12 months, you could do that. So we're going to bring this back in. This is going to adhere to the bottom. Again, I'm going to use removable tape for the tutorial's sake so that I can go back and decorate this book, which I think I'm going to be doing this in Bloom Where You Were Planted, which is a beautiful CCC collection if you're not familiar with it. I've been wanting to make something else with my leftovers for a while now. So I'm seeing that this is feeling a little long for our page, but we'll see. Let's make sure everything turns this way, which it does. I'm going to go ahead and burnish it down, even though I used, that removable tape. It does go over just a hair. Another thing you can do is you can just take the back side of your bone folder and kind of run it along pockets when they go over when it's a pocket, because it's just going to make the pocket a little poofier on one side. It doesn't hurt anything. This one I also did not do a magnet because once the paper is on here, it was nice and heavy. You could do a closure here of any kind that you like. Moving on to 5A, this is another simple page with a side pocket. We're going to take a 3x8. We're going to score it half, 7½, turn, and score at 2½. And the same mitering that I always do, all 4 corners. This one at the cross section. So it's basically doing 2 in 1, I guess you could say. And of course I have to have one that's going to be difficult at the end. That's just typical, isn't it? Yeah, bring in your book. And I just pulled my waterfall off the front page and put that back on really quick so I remember where it goes. That's the only bad thing about doing this with removable tape. Losing some of my pages. So for this one, I'm also going to use that removable tape. Once I get this mitered properly, I don't feel like I got a good enough miter here. So I don't like my corners when I put it together to overlap, because then it can cause some issues when you put stuff in the pockets, and I'm not a fan of that. So just do a little better mitering, I guess, than I did. Well, I think I might. No, I'm not. My little thing came loose. All right, so this one I'm going to go in with my book sideways, and I'm just going, this will go on the right of the page with the pocket facing the spine, the opening. And I just want to line this up with my page. Easy peasy. That's where that one goes. Okay. And our last portion of the page system is going to be this fun little double belly band. Super simple. So you're going to have 2 pieces. one that is a 3 by 6, one that is 2 by 6. Take the 3 by 6, put it in at 6, score it at half, and at 5.5. And as you can see, I went a little over it. That's the reasoning behind that. That's the only 2 score lines you need to make on that one. Same thing here. We're going to go in at half and 5.5. And now we are just simply going to miter all 4 corners. Not a lot, just a little. Do the same on this one. And we're going to assemble this before we attach it. So I'm going to do this with, again, the removable tape so that you can see. So we're going to fold this and the bigger one and burnish. Make sure everything lines up nice and neat. And we're going to do the same with this one. Fold and burnish. And obviously, if you were doing this, you are going to decorate this paper first. That is why I'm going to use my removable tape, if I can get it to cooperate with me today. I don't know why it's being so terrible. The smaller one is simply, once this is decorated, going to go right in the middle. You're going to want it right about that 1/2 inch if you're using your scoreboard. And that will go across. And that will give you your double belly band, which you will then add your adhesive to those 2 flaps. And we're going to put that on the page. Try to center it as close as you can. And that will go right on the page like so. So that is everything that goes inside of the book. Then I will also show you how to put this in. Once I get mine all decorated, I will put it in and I will show you. I actually have a video of me showing the other one. I can probably just slip in there, even though the spine is a little bit smaller. We're going to build the pockets that go back here. And then we have a very small pocket that you'll put under your waterfall here. If I can get this to open for me. This one here. Okay. So for those, you are going to have, let's see here. This is the double pocket. Okay, so for your small pocket in the front cover, you have a 2 by 6 1/4. This is just a slip spot right under that waterfall. You don't need it very big. You can even eliminate it if you don't like the idea of having a pocket there. So I'm going to score this at 1/2 and at, is that correct? 5 3/4. And then I'm going to score it again across the bottom at 1/2. Okay. And like any other pocket, I don't have that portion of the book done, so I can't put this in. I can just show you how to make it. So I'm just going to fold just like every other pocket. And like you see here, I'll bring in this book, flip up the waterfall. This goes right inside your front cover once it's decorated, okay? So now we're gonna make this one. Now, my original one, this is really tall. You can make your stack pockets, the 2 pieces, any size you like, but once I decorated, wished I would have made this shorter. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one. So I have a piece that is 2 pieces that are 4 by 6. I'm going to put one of them, the first one in. I'm going to score it at 1/2 inch. Go into 1/2 inch, which is 5.5. And then I'm going to score across the bottom at 1/2. I'm going to miter at the cross section. And I'm going to miter those top 2 as well. All right, now the other one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to score at 1/2, 5.5, And we're not going to score the bottom, just that. But what you do want to do is kind of figure out. So I decided to make this down to 3.5. It was 4.5 before. So I want to have probably about, let me see here. Let's say we want 2.5, okay? So I'm going to go to the 2.5, and I'm just going to make a mark up to the side score mark. Do the same thing. So flip it over, 2.5, and go up. And see how you see those 2 marks. Now I'm just going to miter, and then I'm going to miter this as well, this bottom portion, just like so. So we're going to miter here, go down a little, and then miter that bottom portion as well. Okay? And I got it a little off, but it works. Then I'm going to go ahead and do a little miter on the tops. And this will act just like the one that we made earlier. This is the new way I learned. Go ahead and miter those little pieces that you have, the tabs. This is going to sit, let's see if this is going to work, right inside of here, and you will see that much of the paper. Do I like that? You know what? I don't. So I'm going to go up a little bit further, and I'm going to take this to 1 3/4. I'll make another mark. And I'm going to go and miter it some more. And you can play with it and just do whatever your aesthetic is. You know, if you like a little bit more paper showing, great. If you don't, then stick with the one I just did. Still want to go in and miter a bit more. This is what I'm going to have. And I'm going to see how this works. That's better. Yeah, I like that. So then when I put this in the back of the book, if you flip over what you have, you can see that you're going to glue here, 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 and then just these 2 tabs when you glue it, so that you do the same way we did the pocket earlier. And this goes on the back cover. Okay? So I hope that was a little easier to follow. Like I said, my first video was a wreck because I did not do a prototype, and I found a lot of problems with the album when I was done, and I would much rather just do a quick one, and so that you have an easier one to follow. It's the exact same book, just with some differences in the spacing and the spine size. So I'm going to get the album itself put together, and I will show you how to put this in the book. All right, so I have my booklet all put together. And even though it's a little wonky because I have all that temporary tape in there, I'm also going to temporary tape this just so I can show you how to put this in the book. I use my spacers for this. If you don't have spacers, you just want to make sure that you place this down 1/4 inch from the spine. So put your spacer on right up to where the edge of your spine is, and I like to make a little mark sometimes. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to grab my temporary tape. Now I would be using score tape. Just fold so that your first page is here. This is where it must have fallen off. This is where our belly band page is. It fell off in the off to the side. So this 1.5 inch space that you have here is what you're going to put down. And I'm, like I said, using my temporary tape because I'm going to go back through and decorate this and then put it in. So put this in and just kind of fold your book over so that that first page is on there. And then you should be able to line this up so that you have that 1/4 inch. And remember, our pages are 7 and our book is 7 1/4. So you will have some space on both sides. I'm just making sure. So then you would just push this down once you have that 1/4 inch there. Mine is not going to stick because obviously I have that temporary tape on there. But just make sure that you have a 1/4 inch on each side, and then your pages in the middle, you'll have that 1/2 inch. Okay? So that is how that is done. Now, I also want to make sure, I'm going to set that aside, that I show you. Now, put a piece of paper, when you make your actual book, that is the same width as what we made for the spine piece. So in this case, it was a 2.5, so it was 5.5. And then I went with 7 1/8. And that way everything lines up nicely. So that just covers our spine. I did add glue next to the chipboard before I laid this down, just for extra strength. So then what we want to do, our pocket that we made, oh, here's my, found it. The pocket that goes on the back side that we made will go on this page once it's all decorated. So this was the pocket that we made, the double stacked pocket. And it looks like mine is not quite mitered properly. So I'm going to go in and miter that a little more so my paper doesn't overlap. So this would go down just like we did the stacked pocket on the page, on the little flap. Again, I'm going to use my, I call it fake tape because it doesn't stick. I'm going to put that down, and this is going to be a little bit narrower than the actual book. So it kind of sits in the middle of the page. So I would lay that one down, and then our other piece that we made with the 2 tabs, we're just going to add tape to those tabs. It would be glue if you are doing this permanently, which I am not. Slide that down into the pocket and line it up, and then you have your double pocket. So obviously we would put our decorative paper on first, and mine's a little crooked. So that is where that will go. And then finally, I'm going to show you the stacked waterfall. And I'll be putting a link in the description below to Michelle Allen's stacked waterfall tutorial, because it shows some other things and different ways to do this. So this one, for this one, unlike the one in my walkthrough of the completed album, this is going to be 4 3/4 wide. So what you want to do is grab your scoreboard, and you're going to have a piece that is 4 3/4 by 11 inches long. I'm going to put that in. We're going to score that at 4. And turn it over and do that again. Just score it at 4. This is much like we did the page system. The next piece will be 4 3/4 by 10. Do the same thing. Score at 4. Turn and score at 4. And set that one aside. Then you'll have a 4 3/4 by 9. We're going to score that one at 4. We're going to turn it again, and we're going to score it at 4. Finally, the 4 3/4 by 4.5. You want to put this in your scoreboard at the 4. And why is this 4.5? This is our length. I think I messed this one up. 1 second here. So I need 4 3/4 inches wide. Yes, 4.5. That's correct. I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind today. So you're going to score that one at 4. Don't know what I was thinking. So then grab all those pieces. We're going to turn our scoreboard sideways and start with the largest piece. Just put that in your scoreboard like so. I'm going to push this up into the camera. Then grab the 4 3/4 by 10 And make sure that you fold this over neatly and burnish. So this is what you'll have. Okay. We are going to add glue to this section on the back, which is I believe this is a 1.5 inch space that you'll have. Don't go over your score line. Bring this in and put it right at that 4.5. So you have an even 1/2 inch space. I could go probably a little bit higher, but I'm not looking for perfection this time. I'm going to flip this open, burnish out my glue, and then our other score line, we just want to push that up, make sure everything is lining. Like I said, I always say I use my scoreboard because it makes me line everything up. So then you'll have this open. Grab your 4 3/4 by 9 and do the same thing. Just fold over one side, making sure that everything is nice and straight. And we're going to add glue to this space here. Again, in between those two score marks. This time we want to put this right at the 5. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to open it up, burnish our glue, and then open it on this side and line that all up nice and neat and turn it. And then just burnish that out. Open that up, and of course we will have our last one. Just has that 1/2 inch flap. And that 1/2 inch flap is what you want to add glue to. So just add your glue. And bring that in and put that at the 5.5 mark. Line it up. Burnish everything out. This one came out nice and neat. Go back in and just fold and burnish everything one more time, including the last one because we want that one to flip up as well. And this is what you will have. All of these, this nice 7-page waterfall, and they are 4 3/4 by 4. I'm going to go ahead and fold this one over. Looks like I missed it. And you can do this either ended. You can do it from this way, you can do it from this way. It's just like the page system that we made. And then that, once you have decorative paper down here, will go right in this area. And you will glue down just this portion. Okay? So that is the album. I will definitely have a photo slideshow of this one once I get it decorated with the Country Craft Creations Bloom Where You're Planted paper. And just stay tuned for my next project. Have a wonderful day.